Shri Amitabh Kant ji, Dr. T.V. Somanathan ji, Mr. Dinesh Kumar Khara ji, other guests, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to such a grand launch of 20th edition of India's Top 500 Companies. As Julian mentioned that this is a great moment for all of us as we are completing the 2 decades of this publication. There are a few reasons why we chose to recognize the top 500 companies in India. The top 500 companies are significant driving force of the Indian economy in terms of GDP, with one-fifth contribution to India's GDP. The ongoing competition to enter this elite club adds to the economic dynamism, and that's basically I'm going to explain in few slides. They are runners in the innovation and technological adoption. The spillover effect positively impact the rest of the economy. That demonstrate the excellent resilience in times of adversity. COVID-19 is one example of that. They play a significant role in enabling social upliftment through their CSR activities. As Julian mentioned in his speech that they spent around more than 5,200 billion rupees last year. That one can understand the extent of CSR activities done by the top 500 companies in India. Now, moving on to the economic entities. Why we talk about economic entities and why we talk about and why we chose top 500 companies in India. We were looking at various government papers, estimate, and our own database. We estimated that there are something around 81 million economic entities, and all put together, if I take out the crop, public administration, and defense, they all put together contribute 80% to the India's GDP. So if India's GDP is around 2.9 trillion today, 80% of that comes from that 81 million economic entities. Now, the first 500 entities, which is basically here what we're talking about in terms of their GDP contribution, they contribute one-fifth to the India GDP. That's something around 20%. To be very precise, the 19% they contribute. The next 5,000 companies, they contribute just 10%. And the remaining 27 million entities, they contribute something around what you call 35% to the India GDP. And the last 81 minus 27 million companies, they contribute 16%. Now, if you look at this slide, look at the skewness of the contribution of the top 500 companies in India GDP. And that's basically taper off as we go towards the lower spectrum of economic entities distributions. This slide itself indicates how critical, how important India's top 500 to the India's growth journey, especially in the impact, especially when we talk about impact of COVID-19. If this 500 company move faster, if 500 company take India growth to the next level, automatically your 20% of GDP is going straight to the next stage and next bottom. That's basically, that itself indicate the importance of top 500 companies in India. Now, I have an assumption here. Now, today they're contributing something around 20% to India's GDP. By 2025, when we project India's GDP to be a 5 trillion economy, if I keep their share same at around 20%, which means the incremental GDP, what they are going to add in next 5 years, will be equivalent to the entire size of UAE economy today. Look at the importance of the top 500 companies and what we are looking at for them to contribute to the economy for their journey in the for our journey for the next 5 years when we talk about 5 trillion economy in next 4 5 years, which means they have to add one country itself to the India GDP. That's the UAE. That's very critical and that's very important at this point of time. Now, moving on, I just said that there are many aspects which makes top 500 company very important and critical. And one part is a competitiveness. They are really highly competitive in terms of their R&D expenditure, in terms of the innovation, in terms of the showing the resilience in the performance and going global. But what's happening when I plot top 500 companies and look at the lower bottom of the top 500 companies, there extreme competition. Company come and then go. If you see last 10 years, something around 50% company was out of the league historically, and going forward by 2030 we are expecting that only 50% of the company will stay in the top 500 league as of now. uh, why we're saying that, there are basically most of these companies have tested the time of the cycle, the business cycle in terms of the economic shocks. uh, if I go back to the 20-year back when we started this publication, and that time we had a 500 company feature the first publication launch. Today we have just 130 companies who basically consistently featured in all the edition of top 500 companies. What we call megastar companies to these 130 companies, because these 130 companies, they maintain their supremacy, they maintain their position in the top 500 companies where we have a constructive destruction, and there is a healthy competition going on, and company come and they go out. But 130 companies, and to be very precise, 129 companies, they're featured in all the editions. Now, it's very important to know that what these megastar companies have done to stay ahead of the game, to stay in the top 500 league, because that will be a learning game for rest of the economy. That these are the element one have to focus to ensure that they stay ahead of the game. The first thing is the innovation. I have a two index here. Uh, the x-axis speak about the time frame, and then we have research and development intensity, which means uh, if company are putting their money into the R&D or innovation, in spite of whether they are going down, whether there is an economic shock, where there is some COVID impact, what they have done, the green is basically that 130 megastar companies, and then the amber or orange is basically rest of the company. If you see, in spite of the cycle, in spite of shock, or in spite of the slowdown, these megastar companies, they continue to put their money in the R&D. They continue to focus on the innovation, and look at that. And that's basically precisely the point. They stay in the 500 list throughout the 20 years. What they have done, they've shown the resilience in terms of their performance, in terms of the cumulative returns to the shareholders, to the stakeholders. Look at the gap till 2010. Both companies, megastar companies as well as the other companies in the league, they were trending in the same when you talk about the returns to the shareholder. But from there, the divergence started. Now today, the gap between the other firms in that cohort and 130 is 108 percentage point. Look at that basically, and that was the basically driven by their healthy competition and the money spent on the innovation. But there's a problem, but there's a gray area, but there's some concern, which all of us here together we need to find out. And we have Dr. TV Somanathan, we have our chief guest Shri Amitabh Kanji, to hear more about on this from them. That unfortunately, when we talk about a global presence, we have not done great in terms of last 10 years. Look at France, Japan, South Korea, UK, Germany. They're basically global company decline, number of Fortune 500 companies per US trillion of GDP. They decline. But who gained? The Brazil, China, Taiwan. They have gained. Brazil, if you see the per trillion dollar of GDP, they were at three companies. Now they are four. China had seven in 2000. Now they are nine. Look at the Taiwan. It's a very small. It's a different data set, but they had one. Now they are nine. Look at India. it's basically the same. There is some decimal points slightly because if we compared with the US trillion of GDP, that's a slightly higher. But when we're rounding out, it's the same global company. There is, there is one catch. While we have a top 500 company who contribute one fifth to the India GDP, their presence in the global is basically some concern. We need to do something. We need to basically work around the mechanism where we feel that we have to work together to ensure that we have more Indian company. We are basically global giant. There are basically three things we need to do to ensure that we are there. One, enrich the innovation ecosystem. The role that technology and innovation plays cannot be less stressed. The rise of unknown startups is a very good example of this, which means we need to keep innovating. Second, facilitate going global. As seen earlier, the rise of Taiwanese companies is an illustration of the power of global markets. This can be achieved either through exports or by establishing physical presence. Now, the third piece, which is basically strengthen the institutions. Merger and acquisitions have historically been used as a strategic tool by companies to scale up. To facilitate such business acts, we need to establish a favorable investor climate by strengthening institutions. Having said that, I must acknowledge in the last 6 years, we have seen significant improvement in terms of the governments at the central level and the state level, some of the state level. And that's a great achievement. What we need at this point of time to continue that journey to ensure that we have a more and more global company and trying to take India into the next and the third stage of the development, which basically need of the hour. With that, I will try to conclude my presentation, and I'm looking forward to hear more insightful story from Mr. Srikant, Mr. Sri Amitabh Kant ji, and from Dr. T.V. Somanathan ji. Thank you.